So, maybe a little bit late in the game here, but why is Space Beleren bad? He was just revealed a week or two ago, and it's just bonkers. And here's just kind of what's bad about it, in my opinion. So first off, let's start with what's good. Space Beleren is an incredible card. I think it's really fun. I think it's witty. I think it takes a well-known character and makes him into this fun space adventurer. And they killed. Okay, Wizards, you killed it on that card. I think it was an incredible choice, and I think it's just amazing. The creativity over there. I think it's great. What I don't like about the card is that it is going to be legal. That just causes problems. So let's take the card Raging River. Everybody's comparing Space Beleren to Raging River. I think it's a very good comparison. Basically, you separate your creatures into two piles when they attack. Defending player chooses which stack their creatures are going to be on without flying. That is neat, I guess. I don't know. It makes for a weird gameplay. It makes for a very gameplay, which we like to see in unsets. That kind of stuff is just really fun. I think it's a really good idea. I think it's great in the right circumstances. I don't think putting that kind of stuff in a normal legal set, I don't think that's good. I think it alienates players a little bit, and it separates things, and it makes things too complicated, and it slows down gameplay. And everybody's like, oh, well, okay, now let's see. Is my creatures on the left or the right? And with Space Beleren, it's like, oh, well, which sector is mine? And I can't remember. Now do we write it down on paper? Do we put it in 3 stacks? Oh, now my stack's mixed because I've got too many creatures. Oh, now I'm spreading out. And now I've got, it's just way too complicated. And yes, Magic is a complicated game, but adding that extra level of complexity that doesn't necessarily need to be there, save that for unstuff. The unstuff is supposed to make goofy decisions, and in Unstable there was a card that basically made it so your graveyards could fight each other, which I thought was awesome, and that was really funny. But in the actual gameplay, that is a horrible idea. Because if somebody has nothing in their graveyard and I've got a ton of zombies, boom, that player's dead, right? It doesn't make sense. Similarly, Space Beleren really separates things into like a weird category of just funky interactions that are really hard. And for old players and for new players, and for really wanting to make the game more accessible to new players, Wizards is really complicating things. I'm going to be honest. Say some things are too complicated for new players, and then they make things that are definitely too complicated for new players, and they just kind of brush it off because they think it's fun, right? And there is a time and a place for that, like sets like Modern Horizons. That's definitely for a more mature, like Magic mature audience who knows what the heck's going on. But for like a core set, that's definitely for newer players. Those are more simple cards, right? And so there's a time and a place for each of these things, and this unset is a time and a place for something really fun, which is what came with like Jason's Space Beleren. But making it legal in Commander and just making it black bordered, it's just a hard decision, and makes it legal in Vintage, which is a whole different category, and there's going to be a whole bunch of new cards that can be legal in Vintage that might screw up the game. And maybe it won't. I don't know. We'd have to see. But I just think that putting these things together is just asking for trouble, On the battlefield itself, you're already seeing evasions and stuff, without separating things out, right? You got ground creatures and you got flying creatures. We don't actually physically fly the cards, but it's there. There's a discrepancy, and it just kind of makes sense, right? There's a whole battlefield out here. It doesn't matter if you're on a separate mountain. It doesn't matter if you're across the river. You're still going to find a way to hit each other, right? Like, the flying thing is already the evasion for a different field of battle that makes sense. Just separating things into sectors is just a wonky... It screws with the game too much when there's already evasion, and Wizards they've said they're not putting in more types of evasion, like Forest Walk or Swamp Walk or Island Walk or whatever. They've kind of stopped printing that stuff because it's too much evasion. But now they're going to make sectors, and so if my sector's in alpha, or my creature's in alpha, but my 10/10 creature's in alpha, but then their 20/20 creature, manfred+magic, is in beta, now it can't block? I don't know. That's just an example, and I think it's just messes with the gameplay too much in a real setting, not in an unsetting, and I just think it's kind of a mistake, and I hope that it's... I don't know. Maybe it's not. I don't know. We haven't seen it yet, but we'll see with time, and we'll definitely see what Wizards does and how people react to it. And I guarantee that's not the only thing that's going to have sectors in this set. And I don't know, maybe there'll be a card that can help you switch sectors or whatever, but I don't know, that'll be weird. Maybe they'll make some of those actual uncards with the dumb little acorn, or they'll make it a real thing. I don't know, because, I don't know. People have been rule zeroing this stuff forever anyway, so that doesn't really matter. Just aside, the whole... half of this unset is legal and half of it is not legal. That's just a whole bunch of garbledygook that does not need to exist. That doesn't make any sense to me. Why are we wanting to do this? I do know Mark Rosewater talked about in his blogatog about why they were kind of doing this, and they wanted to put these uncards in black border because basically we're alienating cards from being played because they're silver bordered, and basically they're not seeing play because it's an unset. Here's the thing though. I do understand in a way, and I do get why they'd be sad that the cards they're making aren't being played. However, do you know how many cards actually get played? There are thousands and thousands of Magic cards, and let's take a standard set, for example. A full standard set is probably, I don't know, 250 to 300 cards, depending on the set. That set, all the meta decks are only showcasing maybe 20% of the entirety of that set. So in standard alone, you're alienating the bad cards that can't be played in standard, or that can't be played in standard, right? That aren't in meta decks. Those are getting put into a, oh, that doesn't get played category, or oh, that's just for commander category, or oh, that's just for modern category, or what have you, right? And that's, you know, that's sad on its own, and they're not making cards for everybody, right? They're basically take out almost every single common, take out half of the uncommons, and a quarter of the rares, and a couple of the mythic rares. Those will almost never see play. And a lot of uncards, in fact, most uncards, for sure, they don't get played. But here's the thing, though. They will get played in certain play groups. They get played in drafts. They get played all over the place, just not in sanctioned formats. And that's, I don't know if that's what they're going for, but that's the fun about the unstuff, is that you can set it aside and you can just have a fun, goofy night that's really awesome. And I think it's really, really cool. So anyway, I don't know. I've just been rambling. Hopefully this video isn't too boring. It probably was. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I will see you guys next time on your weekly dose of magic next week, whatever it is.